Well, I did the show called Letting Go of God, and Ira Glass, who's from here, had put a segment of it on This American Life, and I was working on Desperate Housewives as a writer at the time, and I got this huge response, and I was getting so many emails as responding to having this show on the air. And I came, and I was like going to writers' meetings, and then I was running back in my office and getting more and more emails in regards to this show. And it was really thrilling, but I couldn't really pay that much attention to them. But one letter really caught my eye, and the headline was, "Desperately Seeking Sweeney in Law." And it said, "I am writing to you to propose marriage to you on behalf of my brother, who doesn't know that I'm writing to you. I would propose myself, but I'm gay, and I live in San Francisco, so I don't think it would work out between us. But you are the perfect woman for my brother. His big deal breaker with women is that they cannot be religious in any way, and so you should marry my brother. And here is a picture of him. He's a scientist. He lives in Chicago, and my family's just as crazy as yours." And he told me some funny anecdote about his dad that was really funny. And it was a really funny, well-written letter, and I even read it to the guys in the office next to me, but I didn't respond. I really wanted to just respond to him and say, "Funny letter, but I'm not going to write your brother." I mean, come on. But it was really cute, and I remembered it. Then several months later, I was in New York doing Letting Go of God, and I came out, and I was turning in my microphone when this woman was leaving the bathroom, and she said, she wasn't really looking for me. We kind of ran into each other, and she said, "Oh, actually, several months ago, a really good friend of mine wrote you a letter proposing marriage on behalf of his brother." And I said, "Oh, right, yeah." And she goes, "I just want to vouch for those two brothers. I've known them for 30 years, since junior high. And they're really funny, and this guy is really smart and really funny. You should write him." And I was like, "Well, maybe I will." And she's like, "You should." And I was like, "Maybe I will." And, but then I didn't. Okay, so then several more months went by, and I was doing Letting Go of God again in LA, and I came out after a show, and there was this tall, handsome man standing there waiting to talk to me. I was talking to people after the show, and he said, "I wrote you this letter like a year ago proposing marriage on behalf of my brother." And I said, "Oh, right. Oh, that was a really good letter. I'm sorry I never wrote your brother. Maybe I will write him," something like that. And he said, "Oh, no, you shouldn't write him. You know why? He's an asshole." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, he got incredibly pissed off that I sent you that letter because it had his cell phone number in it and everything, and he got really, really mad." And I said to him, in fact, I was just driving down here from San Francisco, and he happened to call me, and I said I was going to come to your show, and I said, "You should not even be mad that I sent that letter to her, because I read the letter in this creative writing class that I'm taking in San Francisco, and then I accidentally left the letter on the seat in the class, and the next week this woman came up to me who had found the letter and said, 'Did she ever write to your brother?' And I said to her, 'No.' And she said, 'Well, I would like to introduce him to my daughter.'" And he goes, "So I was telling my brother this," and he got even angrier at me. He got so angry I had to hang up on him. And I said, "Oh my God." And he said, "Yeah, in fact, my whole family's really mad at me about this letter. In fact, my mother is here. She just saw your show, but she's not standing here because she thinks this whole thing is so crazy." And I said, "Oh my God, I have to meet your mother." So we went, and there was this woman, and she said, "You should not even be talking to us. I told him you're going to call the FBI, on him for stalking you. This whole letter thing is so crazy. But I will say I would make a fabulous mother-in-law. I do not get involved or overly involved in my son's lives at all. The most I would ever say to you is cute skirt. And by the way, where did you get that darling skirt?" And then we started talking about my skirt, so that was very funny. So I went home. I found this letter that was like almost a year before, and I wrote to this guy, and I said, "Well, now I've met your mother, your brother, and your friend in New York. And if you're half as charming as your brother, I owe it to him at least to say hello." And then a few days later, I got this email back, and the headline was, "I am mortified." And it said, "I did not know the meaning of the word mortified until I found out that this letter had been sent. And I had just hoped that you had some efficient assistant who would delete a crazy letter like that, and I am so sorry that my brother took up your time." And then I wrote back and said, "Oh, it's all right. He was funny. He was funny and charming, and your mother was funny too." And then he wrote back, and then I wrote back, and then he wrote back, and then I wrote back, and then he wrote back. And then he came to LA, and we went out for dinner, and he was cute, and he was handsome, and he was a scientist and smart, and we got married. And that's how I'm here, people, because he has a business here in Evanston. So my daughter Milan and I packed up. We bought an Odyssey, a Honda Odyssey minivan, so that we could fit in. And we drove from LA, and here, that's why I'm here. Jill was a bridesmaid at the wedding.
I was a bridesmaid, and you tell them who married you.
Well, I come from Catholics who are mostly upset that I'm no longer one of the faithful. Michael came from atheists coming from the Jewish tradition, so we didn't know how we could get married, but finally we figured out we should have my friend Don Novello play Father Guido Sarducci. And everyone was happy.
It was the
Everyone
best
was
wedding.
satisfied.
And
Jill sang this song at the wedding.